Hope you guys, if you have any questions for it, or this just will basically be my take on these cards, whether I think they're good, bad, or just hard to tell so far, because they're not like any other cards we've played with. So let's get started. So, Temporal Anomaly. When you draw this, add a random spell to your hand. 2/2 elemental. So a random spell from your class. So classes like Mage, Shaman, which have elemental synergy and good spells, probably will benefit more from this. 2 mana 2/2, add a card to your hand. That's pretty good. It's like Raven, except Raven you don't guarantee to get the spell. But this you can't have in your, you can't like hold for mulligans. Otherwise it doesn't actually work, right? So it's pretty good, I think, because it's a 2/2 for 2 with upside. But you often can't play it on 2 unless you draw it with the upside early. Like you'd have to mulligan it away and draw it back. But that's still fine, right? It also has the elemental tag, which is really nice as a mage and shaman. Alright, maybe I can get a let me see. One through. Alright, so yeah, I think this card will be pretty good. I think if we were to rate it, we would be around like in the really good like section, I think. So like if you did 1 is really good and 5 is bad, I think it'd be like a 2. So I think let's do the next one. Blessing of, I don't even know how to pronounce that. Eons? Does Eons actually have an A in front of it? Whatever. Give a minion at the end of your turn, gain +1/+1. So it's a persistent effect that ends at the end of your turn. But the buff doesn't happen on the first turn until after your turn's over. So the first turn it's really bad. Second turn it's okay. It's not until the third turn it persists that's good. I don't think this is a great card. I think this is a... I mean, you're going to want to be ahead on the board as a paladin, right? So it'll still be a playable card. Because if you're ahead, it should be hard to remove. If they don't remove it, it sticks. It gets a win condition. It's like Gruul's really good if it sticks, but if it doesn't, like, I don't know. This seems worse because it doesn't have the body. So I think this is an okay card. I'd say it's playable. Should be like a below average card, but playable. So let's move on to the next one. Master of Realities, 6 mana, 5/7. After you summon a minion, transform it into a random minion that costs 2 more. That sounds insane. When I first heard about this card, I thought it would be insane. Like, this card's going to be really good. You are going to pick it a lot, I assume. Especially if it's not in the top bucket. We'll see if they put it in the top bucket. It's just a really insane card. The stat line, 6 mana, 5/7, is what? Pit Fighter? Not Pit Fighter, Defies Cleaner, right? So, the effect of silencing a death rattle, or after every minion you summon. So it's not, wow, so it's summon a minion too. So, like, wow. It's not like play a minion, summon a minion. So anything that summons like a token or something works with it. Or you just totem. Wow, that's so good. I think that's going to be insane. That should be really help Shaman. Shaman's going to be good because of that. Yeah, that's like, if one's top awesome, that's awesome. That's one. That's like top tier. We'll see how many other premium cards are going to be offered, but that's going to be really strong. Plush Forward. Each player gains 2 mana crystals and draws 2 cards. So it's Druid card, 3 mana, ramps for both you and your opponent, and you both draw cards. So when would this be good? If you have UI, you need like 1 or 2 UIs in your deck, or you need like a really heavy deck, and then this would be pretty strong. You basically just get your late game, get your ramp going. But usually effects like this help your opponent a little more than they help you, because the draw you can't usually use on the same turn, so your opponent gets more flexibility for their turn, and the 2 extra mana doesn't usually do enough. That your opponent getting the 2 mana first or like second doesn't usually hurt them. Like you saw with the 3 mana 2/4 that gives you each opponent a mana. Usually you don't do anything with your mana, but then your opponent gets an extra mana for starting their turn. So I don't think this will be a good card. I think it'll be pretty trash. It'll be working very specific Druid decks, ones where you have the ramp, and the ramp's really, really necessary. What's up, Collins? How you doing? Yeah, affects your hero power as well. Yeah. The Shaman one was so insane. That one's gonna be so good. Let's see. So yeah, I don't think Flash Forward's gonna be good. I think it's gonna be pretty bad. I think it'll be very good in maybe like very specific decks if you have like a really strong early game curve, and then for a few cards, and then you have a ton of late game, and you get this as like your ramp, and then you ramp some more. You just have a lot of ramp, and then just basically overload the game. I think a card like this would be much more useful in Constructed or something like that. In Arena, it seems kind of meh. Oh, this next card. Whew. I'm not looking forward to playing with this card. It's going to be really strong, and you want to pick it a lot of the times, but it's not going to be fun for me. A one-sided Nas effect. 7 mana, 6/6. From now on, your turn are 15 seconds, and you draw 2 cards. So the dragon text could be helpful in certain classes like Priest, but more of the time it's going to be not a helpful. It's going to be a detriment to it, especially with the Dragon Slayer and stuff being around. But the effect is so strong. The drawing 2 cards at each turn, 2 extra cards each turn, like a Luneth is really not that good in Arena because you draw 3 every turn, and then you end up fatiguing out a lot of the times because you draw too many. I think drawing 2 is going to be really good. I think that's going to be the sweet spot, 2 extra. I think that's where you'll be like, if you have a very aggressive deck, this will pressure your opponent too hard that if you just find your reach, you find your removals, you find anything you need every turn. The problem is that you only have 15 seconds to think about the play, and if you watch my stream, you know how terrible that is for me. But I think the card will be very strong. I think 15 seconds should be enough time, because the way you're going to want to play this card is basically dumping your hand every turn, and then you get the refuel every turn. So it's basically you just want to have a really aggressive deck and you dump every turn. So the extra draw, you should just be dumping your hand. So it's probably going to be pretty good just because you're only going to have, like, you should only have 3 cards you draw every turn, basically, with this. So, because basically you want to draft a really aggressive deck when you have this card. So, yeah, I think the card's going to be really strong. It's kind of bonkers, I think. So, we'll see. We'll see if it's as good as I think it will be. The effect seems really good, and it doesn't seem as bad as the Eleneth for fatigue and stuff. But we'll see. Alright, let's go on to the next one. Alright. Whew. Possibility Seekers. Shuffle your hand into your deck, draw that many cards. 4 mana, 4/5, so it's a Yeti with a dragon text, with the dragon label. But with an effect of shuffle your hand into your deck, draw that many cards. We haven't really had many cards like that in Hearthstone. I know they have cards like that in other card games. I haven't played enough of other card games to know if that's good or not. From what I can tell, it's good. We're going to have to see more. That was a legendary? Interesting. Oh yeah, they have the, they don't have the icon here, but they have the legendary text over it. So it'll be in the legendary bucket, so you won't see it that often, I guess. Interesting. So, yeah, depending on the buckets or breakdown, this might be in the top bucket, and you just won't see it that often, and then it's going to be up against, like, insanely good cards, so you might not see it instead. Huh, okay. So, something to keep in mind. Thanks for pointing that out, Collins. Yeah, I didn't notice that. Interesting. Okay, so I'll have to keep note of that. Even though they don't have the rarities at the bottoms, they have the legendary symbols so that they show what's breaking down and what buckets. So, interesting. I think the Possibility Seeker is going to be good. I think that's going to be a good card. You're going to want to draft it. The 4/5 for 4 is going to be strong, like a Yeti. It's going to be good, and I think the effect is going to be a positive thing. I think the drawing the cards will normally be good, because you'll have played your curve cards already, most likely, that you like needed, and then you can just shuffle the cards and look for more things that will benefit you in the later game. Yeah, I think that the effect is probably a good thing. Not sure. I haven't played enough with cards like this before, so other people who have played with cards like this in other card games might have a better understanding of this card. But I think the card should be good. The stat line alone should make it good. So yeah, I think it's going to be a good card. We'll see what bucket these cards are in. I think with every card you have to keep in mind what bucket they put it in. If they over bucket it like they did with the Witchwood cards, so you're probably not going to take some of them because of that. But if they under bucket it, then you might just be taking all of these cards. So we'll see if they have a increased occurrence, or if they have bucket, what bucket they're in, to decide whether you want to take them or not. So it's going to be interesting to see that. So the first like week or couple days will be very intriguing, to say the least. Alright. 6 mana, 6/7 dragon. Wow, that's a lot of dragons. They've printed a lot of dragons. Is there dragon synergy that they printed later? I'll have to keep that in mind. They printed a lot of dragons, though. At the start of your turn, summon the highest cost minion from each player's deck. At the start of your turn. So, that means you won't be able to attack with it, right? Because it's at the start of your turn, not at the end of your opponent's turn. So, unless it has rush or charge, you won't be able to attack with it. So, that doesn't seem very good. You can have a... So, they try to make this, force this archetype where you take these really large minions with the flash forward thing. So, you take like this and the flash forward, and then, yeah, take this, like a couple of these, they pull themselves, they pull more large iron barks and stuff. And your opponent pulls like a 3-drop or a 4-drop or whatever, and you get a 8-drop. That's what they essentially want you to do. It seems like they're trying to force it. It doesn't. I don't think it'll be good. It just seems inconsistent right now. They really want Dragon Slayer to be good. Yeah, it looks like Dragon Slayer is going to even be better. That's like, holy shit! They printed so many dragons. I don't know. We'll see. When I get through the rest of the review, we'll see how many more dragons they added. But that's a lot of dragons already, and we're not even halfway through. I think this card's going to be bad, though. I think the Druid card's going to be bad. So I think Druid might be bad in this expansion. We'll see how it works out, but the 2 cards they added so far I think are bad. Like the stat line, 6 mana, 6/7 is okay, right? Like the stat line itself is fine. It's a Boulderfist Ogre, right? Which is good. That's fine. That's a fine stat line. The problem is I think the effect is actually negative to you most of the time. Because if you pull your minion first and you pull your opponent's minion first, they get to attack with their minion first before you get to attack with yours. So if you pull a bigger minion with them, or minion of equal size, they get to attack with their minion first, which means that the effect is actually a downside. And so you have to be pulling a bigger minion than your opponent's pulling. So I think this is like only good in very specific decks, same with the Flash Forward. I think they're trying to make it force it, but I don't think it's going to be consistent enough. We'll see. I can't say for certain it won't be, because maybe the buckets they put this in is like the trash bucket or something, and you'll just be taking this anyways. But it's doesn't seem like it's going to be a great card, just because of the effect. It's going to be a downside most of the time, unless you have a very heavy curve, and then you need the ramp for the heavy curve then. So you need like a very consistent ramp, which you can't really do in Arena. You can't always get the ramp you want. So we'll have to see, but I don't think the Druid is so far is getting the... I think Druid's getting the short end of the stick right now. Let's go on to the next card. Reminiscence. Add 2 random cards from your opponent's played this game to your hand. 2 random cards your opponent played this game to your hand. Huh. So 2 mana 2, draw 2 is a good thing. Like, that's really good. You can see, like, Book of Spectres, when it draws 2 cards, you're like, oh, great. The difference is it doesn't draw from your deck. It gives you random cards. And unlike Thoughtsteal and Devour Mind, it's played. It's not from your opponent's deck, which means they're going to be smaller usually, right? Unless you wait, because they're going to have played it in the early stages of the game. So unless you're playing this really late game, you're going to be getting small things back on average, which isn't exactly why you take these value generators. You take the value generators to generate value. Like, you take Thoughtsteal so you get the Meteors and Flame Strikes, and or the Violet Worms, or the statues, or the whatever, the big things from your opponent, not the small things. So I think this will be worse than that. The 1 extra mana is nice, but don't think that's going to be relevant enough. So like this is better in a faster meta, so than Thoughtsteal would be. But I still think it's. I think if you're gonna take those type of cards, you might as well just take the Thoughtsteal. We'll have to see what bucket it is in, but I don't think it's a great card. Basically, it just seems like it's a worse version of Thoughtsteal. And that costs one less. So, like, it makes sense it costs one less because it's worse. It's hard to say. Like, if it's a really fast meta, the extra... But then you're not going to want to generate value this way, right? Like, this is not how you want to generate value. Or do you just, like, in the control matchups, you just hold it and hold it and hold it until your opponent's played a bunch of big things and then you play it? Or whenever their pool's the largest? I don't know. That doesn't seem as good. I wouldn't be shocked if I'm wrong about this card, but I think this card isn't that great. Like, I think I'd rather have a Thoughtsteal or a Devour Mind if you're going to take one of these value generators. So, yeah. I'm not sure if this is a great card, but I don't think so. I think it's going to be below average. Like, I think... Because, like, when you draw cards from your deck, you thin your deck, and you get your reach, you get your removals, you get the thing... You know what you're getting, right? You're trying to thin your deck to get the cards you want from your deck. With this, you just get random cards that are most likely shitty 2-drops and 3-drops from your opponent, which isn't exactly what you want if you're playing a value generating card. I don't know. I think it can like high roll and stuff if you get something like if you get like a really strong like Yeti or something, and then like a mid game card, like a Yeti and a Lone Champ or something, right? Like then you're not that upset. Or if you get like your opponent like anti-tempos themselves and play a Thoughtsteal on turn 3, and then you play this, you get your opponent's Thoughtsteal. Interestingly enough, one of the ways you win the hard control matchups is you hold on to your Thoughtsteals and Devour Minds and stuff in your hand, and so that your opponent can't Thoughtsteal or Devour Mind it from your deck. Like if you play versus Priest or whatever, and then if this would kind of counter that because you play the Thoughtsteal and then you steal this back quicker. But you don't usually want to play it on curve anyways, so it's still, you'd have to still wait. No, I don't think it's a good card. No, it doesn't seem good to me. It seems like a worse version of like Arcane Intellect, worse version of Thoughtsteal, worse version of that stuff. I think I'd rather just have the draw or have the, yeah, I don't think it's that good. I think it's like still gonna be playable, like it's a playable card, but I think that we have other better cards in Priest. Next card. Infinite Wolf. This one I saw, I was quite intrigued. I also misread it the very first time I read it. So what the text says is a 4-mana 5/5 rush. After this attacks, shuffle it into your deck and give your future Infinite Wolves +2/+2. I missed the shuffle it into your deck part the first time I read it, so I thought this card was broken, like beyond belief. It's not broken by any means. Now, the more you look at it, it's gonna be a good card, I think, because they stack with themselves. So if you have multiple Infinite Wolves in your deck, one stacks into the next. I don't know how the text works if you trade it off. I assume it doesn't go back into your deck, based on just like how it works, right? After this attack, shuffle it into your deck and give future in Wolves. I don't know how that works. I'm not sure. Like, if it dies, does it get shuffled into your deck? Like, if you trade it into a 5/5, will it get shuffled back into your deck? I don't know. I think it'll be good either way. I think if it does get shuffled into your deck after it dies, then it's even better. But it doesn't seem to make sense to me. Like, they would, like, let it... Because, like, the card's dead, so then it shouldn't get shuffled. But I'm not sure. Because it's not a death rattle. It's every time it attacks, so even when it dies, it still gets shuffled? Interesting. I don't know. So like even if it trades off into like a large ass minion, it'll still get shuffled into your deck. Okay, so it's still as good as I thought it would be, maybe slightly better. I think it's a good card. Like I think it's a good card either way. 4 mana 5 damage isn't great, but like you take a kill command on a minion, right? So which is 3 mana, and then basically the next time a 7 mana, you take a 4 mana 4 mana 7 damage is insane. It's like a deadly shot, except you can target where you want to go. If you get like Tundra Rhino or something with this, it kind of be insanely strong. Plus, if you get stack Wolf after Wolf, it's pretty good. So I think it's a strong card. If they put it in the top bucket, I don't know if you can pick it then, because there's a lot of good cards in the top bucket for Hunter. Like, I don't know if you're gonna pick it over like Kill Command, not Kill Command, like High Main or stuff, or Bow. But I think it's gonna be a good card. So, Tundra Rhino does override Rush. So if you have this with Tundra Rhino, it will hit face. So, so after like the second or third time you play it, it'll be pretty good if you have Tundra Rhino with it. So it'll be pretty strong. I think it'll be a good card. I think it'll be a lot better in the slower mid-range style, the controller style. So if you're playing more like the Spellstone route, or you're just playing a slower mid-range style Hunter, I think this card will be a lot better in that type of deck. I think the aggressive deck is a little weaker there, because it'll be a little harder to get off, to get the attack to hit face, because then you have to wait a turn, give your opponent a turn to remove it, and you don't really want to be top decking a card that you have to put down on the board and then wait a turn and then get one attack off. I don't know. It'll still be pretty good, I think, because it's only 4 mana, right? Like, so you can still play, like, if it's at like a 7/7 or a 9/9, you play it down for 4 mana. 4 mana 9/9, one attack to the face as Hunter is pretty damn good. You'll take that, because you can also squeeze in the hero power. So I think it's going to be pretty good. We'll see how good it is and what bucket it's in. But I think it's going to be a strong card, especially when you have multiple in your deck. But cards like this, where they shuffle back in your deck and they grow, it's a little hard to see when it's very aggressive, right? Like a very aggressive class. You end up usually not getting through enough of your deck to see this effect get out of hand. So I don't think it'll be super insane in the very aggressive style. I think it'll be pretty good in the more mid-rangey style. So I think it's going to be a good card, though, either way. Like, the very first hit will be bad. Like, it'll be a 5/5. It'll only do 5 damage, which is, like, below average. But the second and third hits are going to be strong. So the more you have of this, the stronger it'll be. That's basically what the main takeaway is. So just make sure you keep that in mind when you're drafting your curve. I think on to the next one. But I think I like this card. So unlike the Priest card, I think this Hunter card's good. Let's see. Alright. Timeline Witness. It's a neutral, and it is a 3 mana 2/4. Instead of drawing your normal card each turn, discover a card from your deck. So you don't draw, you discover a card from your deck. So anywhere in your deck. So it's not like you just, okay. And you don't discard the other cards, you just keep them. It's not like an actual tracking where it thins your deck. Interesting. So it's not like bad for fatigue, but it's doesn't actually actively thin your deck of the bad cards either. So instead of drawing, no, you can still draw your cards. It doesn't say you don't draw. It says instead of your normal draw. So you have the 1 draw per turn for your normal turn draw. So if you use Arcane Intellect or something, or anything that draws cards, you'll just still draw them normally. But instead of your normal draw, it will discover that 1 card from your deck. So the effect it's pretty strong. Discovering cards, as we've figured out, is really good. Like, it's a really good effect. So it'll be a strong card. The stat line is kind of weak though. So a 3-mana 2/4 I don't like. It doesn't even have taunt or anything. So the stat line's pretty weak. This will be very good in the slower matchups. It'll allow you to pick what you need at each turn, or prepare your turns. If you're missing something for your curve, you just prepare it for the following turns. And you get to leave your bigger things in your deck until you need them later in the game. So I think this card's pretty good in terms of effect-wise. I don't want to consider it a 3-drop, so if I'm not playing it on 3, it goes down in quite a bit in value. Because I don't like the 2/4 stat line on 3. Especially with all the 4/3s out there now. I'm not a huge fan. I think it'll be pickable. We'll see what bucket it's in. If it's in a very high bucket, I don't think you're going to want to pick it. We'll see how slow the meta is with the new cards coming out. If the meta slows down even further, I think the card will be good. But it just seems like a pretty decent card because, like, oh, you can just take your AoE for the turn. Oh, you can just take your curve 4. Oh, you can just take whatever. So, like, I think it won't be a bad card, but it has to stick around for it to be good. So, at most, you'll probably get 1 or 2 draws from it. So, I don't know how good it will be. I'm going to have to see what classes I think will be good for the meta, to see if the meta will be fast or slow. So far, it seems like Druid will be bad. Hunter got a good card. Priest got a bad card, I think. So it seems like the meta might speed up. I don't know. We'll have to look at the rest of the classes. I'll have to look at the cards by the end. And it always depends on what bucket they put these cards in. Because, like, if they put these cards that are really good at being aggressive in the top bucket, and then they put these really good heavy control cards, like all these AoE or all these good cards, and in the bottom buckets, you're just going to take the really slow cards, and then your decks are just going to be slower inherently. So it'll depend on what buckets they're in, and whether tempo and what classes are going to be strong. Whether tempo or control is going to be a thing. I thought that the meta we would be facing would be slower. Like, I don't know if what they want. Like, it's clear that they want the metas to be slower. Like, every expansion they release, every set that they release, they make these cards that are better and better at controlling the board and trying to keep the opponents off the board. They try to keep the meta slow, but it doesn't seem to always work out. Like, they're trying to force it, and it doesn't seem like it works. They don't do a good enough job at it, and then tempo classes still prevail. So we'll still have to see. Or they misbucketed something like a Silver Sword, right? Like, Silver Sword is in the second bucket, and then the tempo from the Silver Sword is just insane, and you get the tempo-based sets, right? But yeah, we'll see. I think from first look, Timeline Witness will be a little meh. The card, if it persists, will be good, but for 1 or 2 turns, I don't know if the effect is big enough for it to be like... Because, like, you don't want to draft it as a 3, basically. So, it'll be okay. It'll be a pickable card, I'm betting, depending on the bucket they put it in, but it's not one you're going to go out of your way to take. Alright. Rogue card. 4 mana, 4/3. So, 4 mana, 4/3 is bad stats, but... Battle Cry, add a copy of the top card of your opponent's deck to your hand. So the effect allows you to see the opponent's top card. They know what card you have because they draw their card next turn. So what was that Priest card? It was a 4 mana 4/3 Death Rattle. Get a card from your opponent's deck, right? That was a pretty good card. And that was a Death Rattle. This is a Battle Cry. And you also know what's in their hand. Granted, they know what's in your hand now, so they can play around it better. But if you use that card that turn you draw it is pretty good. I think this is a pretty good value card. We see how good Minstrel is. 4 mana draw, 4 mana for 3/2 draw 2 cards. I think this will be a pretty good card. It's very good in the slower meta. So, like, again, like I said, they're trying to push the slower thing. It's good when it's slow. So as long as you have the removals for cards like this, which Rogue has pretty good removals right now with Cheap Shot, Vile Spine, Kidnapper, those type of things, Sap. I think this card will be pretty good. You just get a little bit more value. It doesn't have initiative like Cursed Castaway does, so it's a little different like that. Like Cursed Castaway gets the initiative that turn and draws you a card. This is just a drop and then draws you a card. But I think the card's still pretty strong. Yeah, it's comparable to Shifting Shade for Priest. Priest does the control thing a little bit better than Rogue does, but Rogue still does it pretty well with the tempo swings from cards like Sap and Kidnapper. So I think this will still be a pretty good card. Depending on what bucket it is in, you're going to want to take it quite highly. And depending on how fast the meta is. If the meta is really fast, I think you'll be taking it less. But if it's a slower meta, it'll be really strong. Just a good value generation. It looks like they're trying to make a lot of cards that generate value and gets you inherent value from just the card itself. But I at least like these cards, right? So like these cards that they're introducing, these last two cards, they give you value generation / value basically off of the battle cry effect, off of the effect, without giving you overstated minions. I like that. I like when they do that, because then it's you have like a detriment, right? So you have to decide what you want. I hate when they print a card that has insane stats and then also has an insane effect. Like cards like Dragon Slayer and stuff. It's like, that's not balanced. I don't know, man. But I think these are how you want to print cards, right? So like the last two, I think were pretty good. We'll have to see if that's actually the case, because I haven't played with them. But from like just an initial standpoint, it looks like these are better designed cards. So we'll see. Let's move on to the next one. One more over. Too much. Alright. Wildlands Adventurer. It's 5 mana, 5/5. Add a cry, add a random card from the Hall of Fame to your hand. Why? Why print cards like this? Like 5 mana, 5/5 stat is really good. Add a random card from the Hall of Fame to your hand. And then you have a huge, insane RNG-based thing effect. Like, in Arena, like, if you get... Oh, and they fixed Molten Giant, so Molten Giant's now low again. Okay. So that'll be playable again, but it's still not good. Like, it never was. So you have Molten Giant, you have Ice Block, cards like that, which will be bad. But if you have, like, at the same time, you can get Azure Drake, which is good. You can get... okay, so cards like this will be annoying, because sometimes they'll get an insanely good card, and other times they'll get an insanely bad card. Rag, Sylvanas, yeah. This is already making me mad. Like, this is going to be annoying to play against and play with. Like, you're sometimes going to get an insanely good card, and sometimes going to get a bad card that you're not going to be able to play. So, the card is good at card generation. Like, the card's good itself. Like, it's 5 mana, 5/5, so it's not really doesn't really have a downside. But yeah, so this one would be annoying. Nothing more else to say about that. I don't think this is a good card design or whatever. It's Hall of Fame, so Dr. Broom's not in the Hall of Fame. It's not wild cards, it's Hall of Famed cards. So Rag, Sylvanas, Ice Block, Molten Giant, Cold Light Oracle, those type of cards. So yeah, so depending on what card you get from it, it can insanely win you the game, or it can do nothing almost. Like if you get Ice Block, your opponent knows you got Ice Block most of the time, and if they're paying attention and stuff. So it's like, yeah, so it's not going to be a great card. I mean, it's going to be a really good card because the stat alone is fine, and it has upside. It's only upside with the stats, and even if you get a bad card, you just won't play it until you have nothing left to do. So, yeah, this is going to be an annoying card to play around and play against and to draft. Hopefully, Like, I want it to be in the top bucket so that no one takes this card, but at the same time, I don't think it's going to be a top bucket card. Because, like, it's not, so not on average, not going to be a top bucket card, I don't think, right? Maybe? I don't know. I don't know. I don't want them, like, I just wish they made the stat line worse, right? Like, if you make the stat lines on these things worse, it, like, makes sense, right? These are the type of cards that I don't want to see. Like, the last two cards where I just said, like, oh, they made a good, bad stat line, but good effect. This is, like, good stat line with a good effect. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it, man. Alright. Alright, we'll move on to the next card. The card is good. The other one is good. Wildlands Adventurer, good card. You're going to want it, probably, if it's in, depending on the bucket. Rift Warden. So, this is a Warlock card. Battle Cry, discard a random minion. Death Rattle, summon it. It's a Warlock card, so it's kind of good. In terms of the effect. Oh, it's another dragon. Holy crap, more dragons. So let's see. Discard a minion is not like a big deal because you're just gonna get it back with the Death Rattle. The stat line is bad. It's 7 mana 5/5, which is kind of awful. But the Death Rattle, so you need at least a 3/3 or 4/4 probably. You would want at least a 4/4 for it to be good. If you get like a 3/3, it's like playable. If you get a 4/4, it's good. Like, you can get a 2/2 and it's technically playable because it's like 7 for 7, but it's the delay effect. Like, unlike Spiteful Summoner, which summons it immediately, the delay is kind of hard. You don't want equal stats for the delay. So you want at least like a 4/4 probably from this. So if you discard a 4-drop and then get a 4-drop back, or maybe a 5-drop, maybe it's good. It's kind of, yeah, you can, and then there's the high rolls where you get like Voidlord and Dreadlord and Doomguard and stuff, right? The problem is you need a minion in hand for it to be good. The second problem is that you don't choose what you discard. You can play other cards before it, and then you have limited cards in your hand to discard. The issue with this type of card means you want to draft heavier cards, which means you want to go way more control. Which I like the Zooish style better, and having a lot of early game cards. So like if your majority of your deck's 1 and 2 drops, this card's definitely not going to be as strong, right? Like if your curve is really low, this card is definitely going to be a lot weaker, just based on how it works out. Because you're just going to have a lot fewer late game cards, so you're just going to have to hold this for longer and longer until you get half decent card to discard. But like I said, you only need a 4/4 worth of stats, so a 4-drop's not that late. So if you get a 4-drop, it's not that bad. So like it's not gonna be unplayable. I think it's gonna be in a bad bucket. Like maybe like it should be in a slightly bad bucket, so you should be able to pick it because it's in a bad bucket. Like if it's in a good bucket, you're not gonna pick it. We'll see how much the meta slows down. If the meta slows down more, like if it continues to slow down, this will be pickable, right? This will be a good card because you're going to be drafting less of the Zoo style and more of the control Warlock style, and then that'll be a lot pretty strong effect because it gives you basically something to play on the board while also something to which refuels your board if they like AoE it or something, right? So it'll be a pretty good card if it's if the meta slows down quite a bit and you can take these slower and slower cards. So I think the card will be decent and playable. It really depends on the meta, though, I think, whether it'll be good or not. If it's a really slow meta, like extremely slow meta, the card will be really strong. If the meta is faster and I want to play the Zooish style, if the Zoo style is better, it's definitely going to be a lot worse. So it depends, it kind of drives your deck. So this will be really deck dependent. So yeah, we'll move on to the next one. So yeah, deck dependent card there. Okay, last one for the first set they released. Deja Vu, 1 mana. I think it's a rogue card. Discover a copy of spell that you played this game. A copy of a spell. You gotta discover it, so it's not randomly given to you. So that's a good start. 1 mana, so it's like hallucinate, but not opponent's class. It's more like a spell you play this game. So there are a lot of rogue spells. So quite a few. I draft a lot of good rogue spells. So I think this is going to be a good card, right? This should be a pretty strong card, right? You have eviscerates, backstabs, saps, betrayals. Even a shiv would be okay. It's a little slow, but it's a combo activator as well. So if you have kidnappers and stuff, like it just procs your combos. I think it's going to be a good card. A lot of the rogue spells are pretty decent, right? Like, and the ones that aren't that good, you don't usually play or draft. At least I haven't recently had to draft like that many bad spells. And if I do, I never really get a chance to play them because I'm really far behind. And it's Discover, so you just not pick that one. You pick something else. Copy of a spell, you play this game. You also can copy cards that you play this game that spells from your opponent's class that you played. Like you played like a hallucinate, get a flame strike, and then you play the flame strike, and then you get the flame strike back from this. That'd be kind of cool. In terms of like playing with it, that would be really fucking annoying to play against. Yeah, you know what's more annoying than a one rogue playing one flame strike? Playing 2 flame strikes. That will be annoying. I think this card will be good. We'll see what bucket it's in. I think it'll be a good card though. I don't think it should be in the premium bucket, but I think it should be in one of the higher buckets, maybe at least mid-tier buckets. So I think it's going to be a good card for the bucket if they put it in one of the mid buckets. We'll see though. Because like if you get a sap or something back from this, that's insane, right? If you get a eviscerate back from this, you're really happy. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a good card. All right, I think that's about it to say for that one. Let's move on to the next set of cards. All right, let's see. Consider the past. Let's see. Mage spell, 4 mana, add 3 random spells to your hand. From the past to your hand. Add 3 random spells from the past to your hand. So it's a Kabbalist Tome for 1 less. But it's cards from the past. So you don't get Flame Strike, Blizzard, Fireball, Meteor. You don't get any of those cards. You also don't get all the bad secrets from the current sets. You get... Can you get Ice Block and stuff then, that means, as well? So you can get the Hall of Fame spell, as well as other spells from the past. Oh, and it doesn't even have to be mage spells, does it? Oh my god. See, I'm not going to do... that's so much stuff to think about, I have no idea. Kabbalist Tome was good. There are a lot of bad spells, though. But there are also a lot of good ones. You only need like 2 of them to be good. So if it was 4 mana, draw 2 good cards, you'd take that, right? And 1 bad one. Draw 2 good and 1 bad card. You'd take that, right? I don't know how many good cards there are compared to bad cards from the past spells from every class. No idea. I don't know the math on that, so I'm not gonna... I think it's gonna be okay. It might be too slow. So it depends on how many AoEs you're going to get offered for your decks. This is really good in a control type of mage. Like if you're playing a very slow style mage with a lot of AoEs, just to like refuel your hands and stuff. But like this doesn't get you AoEs consistently. You can get like Dragon Fire Potion and stuff. Oh my god. Fire Potion and other potions and stuff. Oh my god, I don't know. Yeah, I think the card's going to be playable. I think it's going to be pretty good. It's hard to say because I don't know the math behind all the cards that you're going to see. But 4 mana draw 3 is good. Like if those cards were average quality cards, I would take 4 mana draw 3. Like you think Nurse is a good card, but Nurse draws from your deck, so like you know your deck's better than an average quality. So I think this is going to be a good card. We'll see how many bad spells there are once this comes out, because I don't remember, and I'm not going to look through it right now. So I think it'll be a playable card. We'll see what bucket it's in. We'll see if you get offered enough AoEs to make this card work also. So like I said, if the meta slows down a lot, this card will be really good. If it stays fast-paced or moves faster and more tempo-based, this card will be unplayable almost. So we'll see. We'll see. Let's move on to the next one. Bronze Brood Mother. Alright, 5 mana, 5/5 dragon. Another dragon. Holy crap. More dragons. This is a paladin card. When you draw this, summon a 1/1 wee whelp, whatever. So let's see. Bronze. Yeah, I think the 5 mana 5/5's good stat line. You get a 1/1 to when you draw it, so you get an initial tempo from without playing it, right? So you get tempo without playing it. I think that's gonna be a good card, right? Just a good tempo card. You get a free 1/1 on the board. If you draw this on your opponent's turn, it'll be kind of awkward. Like if your opponent's naturalizes and then you draw this, so it's kind of funny. You get an extra 1/1 to deal with. Your opponent has to deal with. But yeah, I think this will be a pretty good card. You're not going to keep it in your opening hand usually anyways, so the 1/1 will usually come down at some point. Yeah, I think it'll be a pretty good card. It means that if you also discover this card, I don't know how you can discover this card. If you discover it from your opponent's deck or something, like Thought Steal it, you won't get the whelp, but still a pretty good card, I think. Yeah, I think you're going to take it. We'll see what bucket it's in, but I think it's a good card. I think this is much more easy to predict than the past card that we just saw. So, yeah. Take this card. Let's see. Let's move on to the next one. Alright, Cavern Dreamer. Let's see. Yeah, so 2 mana, 1/3. At the end of your turn, add a random spell that costs 2 or less to your hand. So the effect is good. You get a cheap spell to play with every turn. That's flexibility. You can't decide what the card is. It's random. If it sticks for more than, what, 2 turns, 3 turns, it's really strong. It's not really a curve card, but it's still playable. So they're really trying to make Control Mage a thing, because the 4-cost card and this card are really good in Control Mage. So if you have the AoEs for those Control Mages to work, it'll be really strong. The Mage will be pretty strong. You just play a more aggressive, a more defensive style of Mage. You just outvalue your opponents, just basically run them out of cards. You just keep generating more and more cards. Your opponent runs out, and you basically win off of essential value, basically. So that should be pretty good. I don't know if this card will be good if you don't have those, because like otherwise it just sticks for. So you get at the end of your turn, so that means you get at least 1 spell. So you get a stick for at least 1 turn. So you can play later in the game and get at least 1 random spell. That costs 2 or less, so it's not that high impact of a spell. So it's not like, I don't think this card is as insane as other cards I've seen. It's from the set, so from like comparing it to the other cards they've released, like the 5/5 that generates that, I think that's just a much better card than this. This is a lot easier to flex into your curve later in the game. Like if you have like a 7 mana, you just drop a 5-drop with this or something, you get a extra 2-cost card, 2-cost spell. So I think the card's okay. I don't think it's insane. I think it's maybe like a little bit below average, maybe average at best. It'll depend on how much you can protect the card, right? If you can protect the card really well, have the AoEs, have the removals, I think the card will be okay. I think it'll be maybe about average, maybe slightly above average, but if you can't protect it at all, it'll just probably be a crappy card that you don't really want to draft. Like it can't be that bad though, because like it always generates enough value for the card itself. Just on average, the random spell is not going to do too much usually, so it's not usually going to be worth more than the card itself. It'll just help you a little bit in the value game. But if you're going to take value cards, like I said about the Reminisce for the Priest card, you're going to want rather to take value cards that are actually get you a lot of value. Like, so I think this will not be one of the cards that you're going to like draft heavily into. You'd rather just take the 4-drop that gives you a lot of value. That's much more useful than a card like this. We'll see though. Alright, Chromie, 4 mana, 4/4. Okay, so the stats are fine. Not insanely good. It's not like a 4/5 or 5/4, but 4/4 is good. Like I play a 4 mana 4/4 a lot, so not bad. It's a legendary, so not too bad, I guess. Shuffle 4 historical epitaphs into your deck. What do those look like? One sec. Do we have those somewhere? Let me take a look for those. So yeah, let me just take a look at what they are. Can I show that to you now? Yeah, so it's draw this, give your 2 mana, plus 2/2. Draw, deal 2 damage. That's annoying. Add 2 random spells from your hand, draw this. That's good. Add 2 random legendaries from your hand, draw this. When you draw this card, cast when drawn. So these all cast when drawn, like the Strider. Deal 2, add 2 random. Add 2 random spells as well, 2 legendaries. +2/+2. Wait, what the fuck? Wait, how does this text read? And Chromie is shuffle 4 into your deck, and they all cast it without you having to pay the mana? What? That's stupid! Ugh, this card, man. That's dumb. That is so dumb. She doesn't have a legendary crystal? Yeah, it's the artwork at the top of the thing. So... let me see. So this artwork at the top indicates. So the artwork at the top, use the see how it's different from the artwork next to it at the top of the thing next to the mana. This at the edge of the circle, the oval, indicates that it's a legendary. So at least we won't see a lot of her, I guess. Holy shit, this card's broken though. Alright, well, this card's dumb. This is like premium card. This is so dumb. I don't know how to evaluate this. It's just a dumb card. Like, it's not balanced at all. Not even fucking close. I can't, I can't wrap my head around it. It's so dumb. So dumb. And the effect is the worst part about this effect is it's like random. So when the effect happens, you don't even know. Like sometimes it'll be insane that you can't do anything about, and other times it will do nothing because like you have no minions on board, so that +2/+2 doesn't do anything. So like, but on average, this card is gonna be broken. It's dumb. It's not balanced at all. Yeah, so not fun. Not fun card to play against. Not a good card design. Yeah, that's it. Alright, next card. I can't really say much more about that except it's not balanced, not good for Arena. Maybe you'll have fun playing it, I don't know. Depends on the type of player you are. I'm not going to have fun playing against it, so not for me. I'll pick it a lot because it's a very broken card, but not a fun card. Alright, on to the next one. Stasis Dragon, 6 mana, 10/10. Oh, that's a good stat line. What's the negative effect? Starts dormant. Okay. So is it like darkness? Then awakens with rush. Oh, it gets rush. Okay. After 2 turns. If it didn't have rush, I think this would be almost unplayable. But because it has rush, I think it's actually okay. So you get a 6 mana. You can't play this on curve, otherwise it's way too slow. You anti-tempo yourself. So this card's really strong in games where you are playing control v control, right? Because it has rush. If it didn't have rush, it would be just a bad card in general. Because even in control matchups, it's just not good, right? I think because it has rush, it's pickable. It's going to be an okay card. I don't think it's going to be a great card, because the 2-turn delay is really a huge downside in any game that isn't control v control. Anytime you're playing an aggressive class, that's going to be too much time you're going to have to waste. So you basically just, by the time you get to play this card, you already won the game, probably, if you're control against an aggressive class. And if you're playing a if you're playing an aggressive class and you're against a control class, you can't spend your mana, 6 mana, doing nothing for 2 turns. So, and give your opponent who is control class 2 turns to figure out how to deal with this. So, I think this card is just only going to be really good if the meta slows down quite a bit and you're playing control v control a lot of the times. If you're not doing that, it's not going to be that great, I don't think. It'll be playable, but it's just one of those things where I don't think you're going to be picking a lot, depending on the bucket. But we'll see. The rush makes it interesting. The dormant for 2 turns, though, is usually way too slow. We'll kind of see how much the meta slows down. But another dragon they added, so yet another dragon we're going to have to deal with. So Dragon Slayer seems like it's going to be a premium pick every time you see it. It's going to be like a must pick for this arena event. I don't know if they'll boost the Dragon Slayer's bucket for the event only, or what, but if the Dragon Slayer stays in the bucket it is now, it's going to be a must pick, I think. So just one of those things where if the buckets stay as is with the other cards, if you see Dragon Slayer during this event, you're going to basically auto pick it. It's almost nothing against it is going to matter, just because there's going to be so many dragons that the free fireball from the 4/3 is going to be insane. So yeah, so something to think about. All right, next card, Fate Cleaver. I believe this is warrior, so another warrior, a warrior weapon. So weapons are good inherently. 4 mana, 4/2, so that stat line's like Death Spite. Instead of the Death Rattle, though, you have, after this kills a minion, destroy all copies of it wherever they are. So including your deck, I guess, and your hand, and your side of the field. So this could get some really good value. You hit a minion on the board, and you clear that if they have 2 of the same card on the board, or if they have 1 card on the board and 1 in their hand. Thinning their deck's not going to be that relevant, or thinning your deck's not going to be that relevant unless you, like, it's one of your best cards. I don't know. I don't think this card's that good. It's like a worse Death Spite, I think, most of the time. The only time it'll be really strong is if you get it off and it kills something from their hand. If you destroy a card from their hand, that can be pretty strong. It also kind of means if you have that card you want to kill in your hand, you can't play this, or you can't attack with this into that minion. Or you'll have to hit with this first and then use something else to kill it off if it's a really big minion. So it's kind of interesting how that works. I think the card design is kind of cool. I don't think it's an insanely good card. I think it's like a slightly... It's like a weapon, so the weapon's going to be good by itself. But I don't think the card is OP by any means. I think it's much worse than Despite if you're trying to compare. But like I think Blood Razor is still going to be much better as a turn 4 play. So I think the card is up against the weapons it's up against right now. It's just going to be worse. It's definitely good in the control matchups where you can destroy your opponent's cards without actually having to do anything. But yeah, so unless the meta slows down even a lot more, I think this card is just basically an average weapon. So I think it'll do what weapons do, which is good value / good removal, but it's not anything special. It's no Despites, no Blood Razor, not anything like that. So it's no Longsword. That was from the last event. But it's pickable. We'll see what bucket it's in. It's not a bad card. It's just not as good as the other weapons being offered. Alright, next one. Alright, Ripple in Time. 1 mana priest card. Discover a minion. If you play it this turn, it has Echo. Another card that incentivizes control. So that like a majority of these cards are just trying to force control on you. So yeah, they're just trying to force control, it seems. But let's see, 1 mana card, that's not bad. So it's a discover a minion. So that's worse than discovering a spell. Inherently spells are better than minions. So, but you give it Echo. So cards that don't normally have Echo can have Echo, which can kind of break the game sometimes. It can be any minion, right? It can be other cross-class minions, I assume. So you can get cards that aren't typically in your class. Huh, interesting. So cards like... Huh, so you can get Voodoo Doll or something and stuff like that. Which is like Squashling, but now you have it for 1 mana instead. So that's kind of cool. So you can kind of make your own Squashling, but cheaper. That's kind of funny. I think the card itself is okay. Like, the effect is pretty good. What discovers minions? A lot of the cards discover spells. Raven Idol discovered minions, but usually you chose to discover spells because spells were better. So you didn't usually take the minion option unless you needed something to play. I think the card's still going to be pretty good. I think giving Echo to things can be strong. The fact that you have to get, if it gives it Echo, means you have to play it later in the game for it to be good. Otherwise, it will be at the, it won't be playable, right? Like, if you play it early in the game, it won't have, like, you can't Echo things that, like, if you don't have the mana to Echo it, right? So, like, you play, like, on turn 4 or 5, you can play a 4-drop with it, but then you won't have Echo. Or you can just take a 4-drop for later in the game. Huh. Yeah, I think the card will be okay. Because you just take the value when you need the value, you take the tempo when you need the tempo. But the Echo effect will be pretty good in the late game. So I think it'll be an okay card for Priest, right? You can take the Echo effect will be really strong in the late game, and then in the early stages of the game you just take a card that you need to play for next turn or something. Like you just take a 5-drop on turn 4. Or on turn 3, on turn 4 you play this with a 3-drop, and then you take a 5-drop for next turn. Or something like that, if you can. Alright, I think the card will be okay. It'll be pretty good. If the meta slows down even further, it's going to be really strong. Like I said, it's better if the meta slows down even more. But yeah, it's not as good as other cards that discover spells, right? Spells are just inherently better. But yeah, the Echo on things... I'm not trying to think of things that would be good to Echo. Like... Fire Plume Phoenix, you get 2 of those. It's pretty nice. I don't know. The echo effect is pretty good, but I don't know how. You need something with a really good battle cry. You get like the Shaman 0-1 thing, and then echo that a bunch of times. You get 6/0-1 totem taunts, and you get 6 Shaman spells. Kind of insane. I don't know. So things with really strong battle cries would be to look out for with this when you echo it in the late game. If you can get cross-class spell minions, then it could be pretty good. I don't know. I think it'll be an okay card. One of the cards that I'll be looking forward to playing with. I don't know if it'll be what bucket it'll be in, but I'll look forward to playing with this card and playing some Priest. All right, let's continue. All right. Warrior card, 6 mana, 5/6. So, overcosted Pit Fighter, but its effect is it's another dragon. So yet another dragon that we have to watch out for. Discover a minion, give it +3/+3, then put it on the top of your deck. So it doesn't discover it to your hand, so it's not a draw. But you get to discover a minion. It's not from your deck; it's just a minion. So it's like the other thing, we just discovered a minion, so it can still be okay. And then you give it an extra 3/3 worth of tempo. So you lose 1 mana worth of tempo this turn, but you get basically 3 mana worth of tempo the next turn, or 2 or 3 mana worth of tempo the next turn. Because I assume you're going to play it the following turn most of the time. I think the card's going to be pretty good. You lose 1 mana tempo, get 2 mana the next turn, or 3 mana the next turn. It's really strong on a taunt, or like Sunwalker or something. Or you get it on Chain Gang, perhaps. That kind of insane. Seems less likely you do that. But Chain Gang would be really sick. Cards like that. That copy it itself. I think it'd still be a pretty good card. Since it's a Discover, it's any minion. Yeah, I don't know. Because it doesn't start in your... It's not minions from your deck. It's any minion, right? So certain cards will be really good with this. Like if you get a Wisp, you get a 4 mana Wisp. You get a 4 mana Wisp the following turn. It will be pretty good. So it's a lot better in classes that have... So since Warrior, you can draw cards with like... draw cards. You have other card draw mechanics, or you have other big taunts. Yeah, I think it'll be pretty good. I like this card. I think it's going to be a strong card. The anti-tempo of 1 mana, I think, is not going to be a big enough deal. I think the meta is going to slow down enough that it'll be okay. I think the relevant mana the following turn will be more important. But, yeah, I think since you get to put it on the top of your deck, it just doesn't go randomly in your deck. You get to discover it. You could use the mana to flip next turn if you want. I think the loss of mana for that turn is pretty good. And 6 health is pretty strong. Like, the 6 health stat is pretty good. We'll see how many Dragon Slayers are out there for dragon effects and stuff, but the 5/6 stat line is pretty strong, even for 6 mana. I'm not that upset. Alright, let's move on to the next card. Infinite Murloc. Holy crap. 1 mana, 1/1. OP. Battle Cry, shuffle an Infinite Murloc into your deck. Your future Infinite Murlocs get 1. So if you get these to stack, it's like the Infinite Wolves. I don't know. It's a Murloc tag. It's not a big deal. 1 mana 1/1 isn't unplayable. You can pick it. It's not good. Rather, like Wisp is a 0 mana 1/1. So you need at least a 2/2 for it to be like worthwhile in stats. So you'd have to play it at least twice before you get like even cost static card. And then to make up for the lack of stats in the first time you play it, you needed to play it 3 times. And even then, if you get a 3rd one out, it seems like the tempo you gain from it isn't that relevant. So it's like might be good in a deck that has a ton of cycle. Like if you have like a ton of, I just don't think it's viable in Arena. Like it's in like if you can construct a deck that has like double UI or triple UI or something, where you have a couple of these in your deck, like 2 or 3 of these in your deck, and you can just play them out every turn, and then UI and draw a bunch more, and then replay them out, and then draw a bunch more, and then replay them out. Maybe it's good, but that doesn't seem viable. Like, it doesn't seem like you're going to be able to do that. So I guess they're trying to, like, it might be okay in Druid with the Flash Forward kind of okay. Because you ramp your mana, and then you get to UI, you get to play this, you draw cards, you cycle a lot faster. You just play a lot of tempo this way. I don't think it's good, though. Like, I think you need to get to 4/4, 1 mana 4/4 before it's, like, actually good on your side. Like, it's, like, a sizable enough body where it's, like, crap, I can't, that's an actual thing I have to deal with. I can't, like, ignore this. For the tempo it gives you. If you get a 4/4 or 5/5, if you get it up to that, it'll be pretty good. But I just don't see that happening. It's too gimmicky, I think. I think this card is not good. If the meta is so slow that basically your like fatigue is an issue, maybe this card will be okay. Because then you just basically cycle it over and over again, and you keep getting more value. But I don't think the meta is going to be that slow. So, no, just too gimmicky. Too gimmicky. It might be in the bottom bucket, though, so maybe you'll take it just for fun. But it seems too gimmicky right now. Let me go back over smidge. Alright, let's see. Stasis Elemental. 4 mana, 3/5 Shaman card. Okay, 4 mana, 3/5 Shaman Elemental. So, stat line, a little underwhelming now, considering how many OP cards they've printed. But 4 mana 3/5 is not that bad. Battlecry, freeze a minion, so that's pretty good. Until this leaves battlefield. Oh, that's really good. Okay, yeah, this is a really good card. I don't think they've printed a card like this before. They've never printed anything that freezes indefinitely, almost. Right? Like, all the freezes end the next turn. They have cards that are dormant, but not frozen indefinitely. You can kind of makeshift your own freeze indefinitely with the Blizzard into Blizzard into Blizzard into Kona Cold into Frost Nova into bullshit that Mage can do, but this card seems really good. 4 mana 3/5, stall your opponent's 3-drop or 4-drop to not do anything, and for at least a turn or two. Yeah, this is gonna be a really good card. Really, really strong card. You're gonna really want it. Definitely a good card. Very highly picked. Elemental tag is also gonna be really nice for Shaman. So Shaman got this and the 5/7. This Shaman's gonna be good, I think. Shaman got the good cards. Let's see. Warrior got some meh cards. I'll do some more analysis of the classes at the end, so I'll look at that later. So Chrono Shot. Let's go on to this one card. I saw this card already. This card is bonkers. 3 mana sap that also freezes your opponent's minion. It's a freezing trap for 3 mana, but you get to target it like sap. This card's bonkers. It's gonna be so strong. Yeah, just bonkers card. If they play a minion that costs 9 or 10 mana, like they free from Amber, get a Mastodon, you sap it, they can never play it again. It's just a dead card in their hand. This card is dumb. It's really good. Good card, Hunter. Happy to get this card. This is really strong in Hunter. It's a deadly shot that you can target. Like, because the way Hunter works, right? Because of how high in tempo cards are, how important tempo is against Hunter. Other classes, basically sapping a card as a Hunter basically means they can't replay it if it costs 2 more than the mana cost it should normally cost, right? So they're never going to be able to replay that card unless it's a giant-ass taunt that, like, they played like an Iron Block on turn 8, you do this, and then they play it again on turn 10. And you're like, they're at that point, they're just praying that you don't have another one or don't have a Hunter's Mark or something. Like, this card is going to be so good. Yeah, this card is insane. Not much more to say about that one. Alright, on to the next one. Time Way Wanderer. 5 mana 6/3. So what has that stat line? Nothing currently, I don't think. You have 4 mana 6/3 from Greaser, 5 mana 6/3 Ethereal Conjurer, I think. had 5 mana. Was that Conjurer? Was Conjurer 5 mana or 6 mana? That was 5 mana, right? That's why it was so good. Alright, so it's like Conjurer in terms of stat line. Battle Cry. Discover a spell, reduce its cost by 5, then put it on top of your deck. Discover a spell, reduce its cost by 5, put it on the top of your deck. It's on the top of your deck, not in your hand. Holy crap. So it's not discovering a card to your hand like Conjurer did, but it gives you a huge tempo swing the following turn. So it's like anti-tempos you, and then gets you a tempo swing the next turn, or whenever you want to play the card that you top deck. So in terms of value, it slows your fatigue game down, but it's because it gives you another card in your deck. But in terms of actual like card advantage, it doesn't give you that because it puts it on your deck. It gives you card advantage because you get to decide what you want and then play it. So I think the card is worse than Conjurer, probably. The tempo swing that the next turn will give you is pretty high. But unlike Conjurer, but the card is like slightly different because it can be any spell, right? Discover a spell. It doesn't have to be a class spell. So it can be cross-class spells, I'm guessing. Right? So I think the card isn't that the tempo swing is going to be really nice. I don't know. But there are a lot of bad spells, and if you get some, like, 2-cost spells and 3-cost spells, it depends on how slow the games are going to go. And what you get from offered a lot of. Discover a spell, yeah. So discover a spell, so it's any class, right? So it's going to be any class. So and if you get like a sap or something, because you get sap so good, you get it for 0 mana, which is nice. A 0 mana sap's good, but you could have got it a 1 mana blizzard, which would be insane. Yeah, so the card could be really good. I'm having trouble evaluating this one. Just because it's going to really depend on the meta, and it's going to really depend on what you get offered every time. So I don't know the offering rates. It's like the mage card that you get the random 3 spells. I don't know what the odds are on getting these, what the spells are good and what spells are bad. And the fact is discover is a lot better. So it should be at least playable. Should be at least playable because you get to discover the spell. If it was a random one that cost 5 less on the top of your deck, it would be really bad. But because it's discovered, it should be at least playable. I don't know how good it will be, though. I think it will be playable, maybe slightly better than playable. I don't know. It'll have to depend on the bucket as well. It's hard to make these assessments about the cards now because it always depends on the bucket. So that's one of the things that I think the new system, compared to the old system, has issue with when making card reviews in general. Because you don't know what bucket these cards are in, you can't advise people to take certain cards or not take certain cards until you see the buckets. If they pre-released what buckets these cards would be in, or released all the buckets ahead of time, like all the buckets in general with the cards, then you could at least do that maybe. But without knowing what buckets the cards are in, it's always going to be really hard to advise people to take a certain card or not take a certain card. So I think the card is playable. I don't think it's an insanely good card. I think it will be a good tempo swing sometimes, but you have to anti-tempo yourself quite a bit. If it was discovered to your hand and it had the same effect, I think it would be an insanely strong card. The fact that it's put on the top of the deck means that you can get the tempo swing next turn, so it's not bad, but it's not something that you're gonna... I don't think the meta is gonna be slow enough for it to be... I don't know how slow the meta is gonna be for it to be good, right? So I think it'll be okay. I think it'll be playable. That's as good as I can give you. Because I don't know what bucket it's gonna be in to say to take it or not. If it's in the bottom half, like the very bottom couple buckets, maybe you'll probably try it out at least. I'd definitely try it out. But if it's in the top half of the buckets, like if it's in one of the other premium ones, I probably wouldn't take it. If it's near like the top 3 buckets, I probably wouldn't take it. Seems that'd be overcosted. So it should be near the. If it's near the bottom, maybe take it. I just don't think you're gonna get a good enough spell consistently enough for it to be worthwhile. Because you have to think about it like this as well. For you, in order to get the tempo swing back on your side of the board, it needs to discover a spell that is at least, because like Greaser is a bad card, right? So we can all agree that Greaser's like not a great card. It's a 4 mana 6/3, like so you want at least 2 mana worth of stats. So it's a 3 mana 6/3, right? Like that would be a good card. So you want at least a 3 cost card that you. So you want 2 extra mana, so 3 discover. Yeah, you want at least a 3 cost card. That way it's at least 0. So you want a 3 cost or more card that you play the following turn. From this effect, that is also a good card, right? Like it has to be both a good card and a 3 or more cost card. So I don't know what the odds are on that type of stuff. But yeah, I think it'll be okay. It'll be playable. Alright, let's do the next card. Warlock card, Grasp the Future. Draw 2, they cost 2 less. So that makes me think of the Druid card, what is it called? Holy crap, can't think of the name. It's the 5 mana card, draw 2, they cost 2 less if they're minions. I don't remember what the name of the card is called right now, off the top of my head. Already forgot the name. But that card was playable, especially in Arena. It wasn't like an insanely strong card. The downside, this is in Warlock, so the drawing effects in Warlock aren't really that. I don't like those. In Warlock, I usually stay away from draw effects in Warlock. Unless they give you like a strong body for its mana cost, like Kobold, like the Kobold, the 1 mana 2/1, right? That gets you a 1 mana 2/1 and cycles, right? So that's a good card. This is 4 mana. The tempo swing seems pretty good, right? Like if you get something that costs more than 2, both cards cost more than 2. You basically got the 2 draw for free-ish. Not really how that works out. So in the slower kind of control-ish decks, this will be pretty good. But you can already tap, so it's not as strong in this class as it would be in other classes. If it was in other classes, it'd be really good. I think it's still a pretty decent card. So I think it's a good card. You'll take it. If the meta slows down more, it'll be stronger. If it's faster Zoolock type of meta, it's a little less good because you're going to have a lot more 1s and 2s. And if you get 1s from this, it's not insanely strong. So, considering I draft 1s pretty highly in Warlock, right now with my style would not be the best card. I'd rather have just tempo, and just tap later on. But I think it'll still be a pretty good card. I think the meta might slow down, so this might even be better because of that. But yeah, we'll see. Let's move on to the next card. I think it's going to be a good card. Alright, so, last card of the set. Ooh, last card. We're almost done, guys and gals. Almost done. 15 mana 8/8. Okay. So it's a giant. Time-bound giant. Costs 1 less for each card you've drawn. It says each card you've drawn, so that means you have to have this in your hand while you draw those cards, or each. It doesn't say this game. If it said this game, then you didn't need it in your hand, right? But because the way it's worded, you need it in your hand while you draw the cards, right? Cost 1 less for each card you've drawn. Yeah, so you need it in the hand while you draw this card. While you draw the cards, for it to decrease the mana, right? So you need it for at least, what? 5 turns to be playable, 7 turns to be meh, 8 turns to be okay, 9 turns to be good. If you get a 6 mana 8/8 is good. So like you need it 9 turns before you can play it for a good stat line. The annoying thing is it's gonna be really strong if you can get it out for like 3 or so mana. Like you know how annoying Sea Giant can be for when you get it out really cheap. So it's like worse than Sea Giant. Probably better than Mountain Giant in the most cases. Not really a card you're going to want to pick too highly, I don't think. The delayed effect is too slow. I think in Control v Control this will be a really strong card because you just wait to time it out until you need to play it for this huge swing on the board. You can like Scream and then play this card, so you can just get a huge tempo swing in one turn, or Doom and then play this card. It's just going to be a really strong card in the control classes. But it's really slow, so I don't think it's going to be good if the tempo, if the slow is, if the meta is fast. Drawing this game. So if you draw other cards, so like it also works if you have Arcane Intellect or other cards that you draw cards with. So I guess it works with that too. So it's like so it'll be work with that too. So if you have UI, you can draw 5 cards. It's pretty good with that. Yeah, I don't. So it's like better than Mountain Giant by quite a bit. It's worse than Sea Giant, I would say. But if the meta slows down enough, this card will be playable. Right now, it seems a little too slow. But yeah, like it's not gonna be a unplayable card. I think it'll be playable. If the meta slows down quite a bit, like if it gets a really slow meta, this card will be really strong. Because then you just wait till the huge tempo swing that you want to set up. But that means you're going to need to have a pretty good curve and then have this as a tempo swing at the late stages of the game. And have other things that draw and cycle for you. So say like you wait, so 9 turns of draws, or you need other things that draw cards. So say you play 6 turns and then you also draw 3 cards from like Nourish or something. Yeah, it's still slow. I don't think the card is insane. Yeah, I think that's a little too slow. We'll see if the meta slows down enough for it to be really good. Yeah, so the slower the meta will be, the better this card will get. So if the meta slows down, this card will be strong. If the meta stays about where it is, it'll be a little too slow. But the tempo swing from it is going to kind of break games. Like, you know how annoying that the 4/4 is when you get to play it for free after they play a 5/4 cost more cost minion, or how annoying Creeper was after they cleared the board. You play Creeper a 5/5 for free. So this will be harder to play, a lot harder to play. So, but the tempo swing is even greater than Creeper was. So it'll just be a really annoying card that some games your opponent will eventually get it down, and then you'll be like, well, I can't deal with this. I guess they win the game. And then other games, they just never get to play. Just a clunky card just stuck in their hand for the entire game. Or they played at like 9 mana, 8/8, and then you're like, that's fine. Okay. Yeah, so I think the card's playable. Let's look at the classes again. I'm just going to go through the cards, see the classes. So, let's see, what are all the classes? So let's just go class by class. Let's see. So after this, I'll do my, so let's just go class by class, and then I'll get into some more arena games. So, let's see, what class do we want to start with? Let's just start with, yeah, one sec. Alright, so let's see, class by class. Druid, let's start with Druid. Let's just go in order. Druid, we'll see all the cards they got. So the Druid seems bad. Let me look at the cards again, but I think that Druid's going to be bad. Yeah, so no Druid cards here, right? So yeah. Druid got those 2 cards, right? Like the 2 Flash Forward and this thing. Yeah, Druid's gonna got the short end of the stick. That's gonna be awful. That class has got the bad cards. We'll see what buckets those cards are in, but yeah, I don't think Druid's gonna be like, unless you can consistently draft the very heavy style of Druid. I don't think it's gonna be a good class in this event. But we'll see. I think they got 2 bad cards, so Let's go on to the next class. Hunter. So Hunter got Chrono Shot and the Infinite Wolf. But I think the Wolf will be okay. Will be a pretty strong card, and the Chrono Shot's insane. So Hunter will be a good class. Hunter will be pretty good. Each class only got 2 cards, right? Right, I'm not missing something. Yeah, each class got 2 cards. Yeah, so I think Hunter will be really strong. More of a mid-range Hunter. Maybe an aggressive mid-range or a control-ish mid-range. But a mid-range Hunter seems really good. So I think that style might be pretty strong, especially with the Chrono Shot. This card's just insane, so we'll take that pretty highly. Let's see what else. So Druid probably bad, Hunter probably good. Mage got the 2 cards that just give you more cards, so that's really slow. So if the meta slows down quite a bit, or if you get enough AoEs, it'll be really good. But if you don't get that, it seems like the cards are going to be kind of weak. So I think Mage might be too weak because it'll be too slow. So we'll see how fast the meta will be. If the meta slows down enough, Mage will be good. But if the meta keeps that same pace or moves or speeds up, it'll just be bad. Paladin. What did Paladin get? Paladin got the 1/1 that buffs. And what else? Oh, it got the what was the other card it got? The Dragon. So this is good. The Dragon's good, but it's not insane. And the 1/1 that buffs is playable and has some high upside, but it needs to be ahead on the board, so it's like another win condition. I think Paladin would be okay. The 1/1 that buffs, if you get it to stick, can win you some games. Can really get out of hand quickly. So I think this card, the Blessing, is going to be one of those cards where if it at the end of your turn, the one turn of it is basically just terrible. Like if you only get 1 turn of it, it's just a bad card. If you need at least like 3 or 4 turns before it kind of gets out of hand. But the fact it's in Paladin makes it pretty good because you should be ahead on the board, which means if it sticks around, your opponents can't deal with it. You just win the game. It just makes it really awkward for your opponents because you should be able to dictate trades because you'll be ahead. Alright, so next class, Priest. Priest got Reminiscence, which I don't think is great. What is the other card they got? The 1 cost card. That should be pretty good. But it's really slow as well. I think the Ripple in Time will be pretty strong. I think the Reminiscence won't be. I think Priest will be okay. I don't think they got anything broken. I think the Echo can be really strong if you get it correctly, but like I said, I think the Ripple will be a lot stronger if the classes control, so we'll see how slow the meta is. But like unlike Mage, where both cards are so slow that it doesn't like this Ripple can be used for tempo as well, somewhat. Like you can just get a curve card if you need it. So I don't hate the Priest cards. The Priest cards will be okay. The Mage will be at least too slow. So yeah, Priest will be okay. Rogue, that leaves Rogue will be, what did Rogue get? Let's see, what did Rogue get? I don't remember. Already forget what the cards they got are. Deja Vu will be really strong, I think, so that's really good. And this will be pretty strong, but it's a little slow. Yeah, I think Rogue got some really good cards. I think Rogue and Hunter got the good cards so far. So we'll see if that sticks, but Rogue seems like it's already the #1 class, so that should help. That should help keep it in #1. We'll see if it actually stays as #1, but cards are pretty good. Let's see, what's the next class? Shaman. Oh, Shaman got broken cards. So yeah, Shaman, broken cards, they're #1 on. They got maybe the best cards of the set. So yeah, so the 2 Shaman cards are insane. So take those very highly. depending on what buckets they're in. But yeah, both Shaman cards are really good. Shaman might have got the best cards of the per class set 2 cards. Shaman's really high up there. So yeah, Shaman, Rogue, and Hunter got some good cards. Let's see what's left. Warlock. Warlock got Grasp and the discard guy. Yeah, I think Warlock kind of sat in the middle. It's like didn't get the short end of the stick like Druid did, but didn't get the best cards. We'll see how slow the meta is. If the meta is really slow, the Warlock cards are going to be pretty good. The draw is not... If this card was in other classes, the Grasp of the Future was in other classes, it would be really bonkers. But because it's in Warlock, because you already have tap, it's not bonkers. It's just like a good card. And if you're playing a very aggressive type of Warlock, like I said, it's not insane because you're just gonna have a lot of ones as well. So the mana cost reduction isn't that useful. But yeah, it's still a good card. So yeah, Warlock got okay cards. The 7 mana 5/5 is a little slow if you don't get at least a 4 or cost or so from the card. So yeah, I think Warlock got not the best cards, but not terrible cards either. So we'll see how that affects the arena for them. If the meta slows down enough, it'll be a really good class. But if it doesn't, then it'll just be where it is around about now. So let's see what's left. And that leaves Warrior. Warrior got a weapon and what was the other thing I got? Oh, it got the thing that puts a card on top of your deck. Yeah, so both the Warrior ones are meh. They're not good. I think they're worse than the Warlock ones, but they're more usable in terms of more consistent. Yeah, I don't think Warrior got that great of cards. So yeah, Shaman, Rogue, and Hunter got the good cards. So stick with those classes, I think, maybe. We'll see how good, how often you see these cards or not. Druid got crapped on. Warlock, Mage, and Priest will be a lot better if the meta is really slow. So the slower the meta is, those 3 classes will be improved by quite a bit. Based on the cards they got, not how the overall strategy of their decks. So I don't know how much you will see these cards, how the new bucket system will implement these cards and whatnot. So I don't know whether the slow styles will actually work for these classes. I'm saying if we see these cards and you get the cards you need to make slow decks work, the cards that they got will help them for the slow style. So that's, I want to iterate, I want to make sure I clarify that, because the cards they got help the slow style a lot more than a faster paced style. It just means that if you don't get the cards to offer playing the slow style, like if you're forced to play the more aggressive style of each of these classes, the cards that they are getting from this event aren't as useful. The Priest at least can play one of their 2 cards pretty well, but with the 1 mana card. But yeah, so just something to think about there. In terms of other neutral cards that you want to worry about, a lot of these are dragons, so Dragon Slayer, unless they move the bucket, will be like a premium pick. Like every time you see it, you're gonna take it almost pick. That's how many dragons they added. How many dragons did they add? I'm actually gonna count it because I'm quite curious. So they added 1 elemental. So 1 dragon, 2 dragon, 3 dragons, 4 dragons. So 4 dragons here, 5 dragons, 6 dragons, 7 dragons. So they added 7 dragons, and depending on how often you see some of these are good dragons and some of them are meh dragons, but none of them are unplayable dragons, I don't think. Like, none of them are completely unplayable. So I would say that Dragon Slayer will be pretty strong. In terms of other neutral cards, I would say that you're going to want to draft this dragon, this legendary, very highly. Possibility Seeker pretty highly, but this is kind of broken. So the 7-mana 6/6 is going to be really strong if you, especially in an aggressive style. The Adventurer will be really strong, so draft this card very highly. This card's really strong. In terms of other common cards, Chromie is broken, literally busted. The card is not fair at all. Like, I don't understand why they printed it. It literally just made a busted card. So Chromie, it should be in the top bucket for legendaries. So at least it's a legendary, so you won't see it that often. But yeah, so as for neutral cards, yeah, so those are the cards you have to really look out for. So yeah, try to not play opponents that draft Chromie. That's my advice. Other than that, I think the set will be kind of okay. We'll see how fast the meta will be. All the cards they released, or a lot of the cards they released, incentivize slow play, except for that new legendary that that draws you 2 cards. So a lot of these cards incentivize slow play. Chrono Shot's a good tempo card, but it's one of those things where you can play it more of in a mid-range style, and it's probably slightly stronger. You don't have to play it in a super aggressive style, and it's okay. But most of these are incentivized slow play. So so like, except for Blessings also incentivize fast play. No, I think most of these incentivize slow play though. Like, this incentivizes heavy drafting, the Flash Forward, heavy drafting. Yeah, most of them are slow. So we'll see how fast the meta will be when they introduce these cards and how often you'll see these in the arena. But I don't know. So we saw how little impact the arena-only cards they introduced last time were. They added an extra card for each class set, and then they added a bunch of neutrals. So this will definitely affect the arena much more than the other class ones from the prior events that they did. I don't think that it will be so much so that it will completely change the arena altogether, but I think it will definitely influence certain classes, definitely influence certain archetypes in these classes, especially depending on what buckets you see these neutrals in and what buckets you see these class cards in. So I think it'll definitely have an impact on the arena. I think the classes, based on the cards they released, should slow down a little bit, some more, but maybe because they take all these cards, they put them in the wrong buckets, people still draft them, then other people that, because they're in the wrong buckets, can capitalize and draft really aggressive decks and punish all the people that are drafting improperly. So we'll see what buckets they're put in. That will really determine whether the meta will be fast or slow. But if these cards are in under bucketed, or then you'll probably draft them quite highly, which means that the meta will slow down. If they're over bucketed, then the meta will probably speed up a little bit, because people will be drafting this even though they shouldn't be, just because they want to play with the cards, and then people are going to counter it by drafting more aggressively. So we shall see, man. We shall see what buckets these will get put in. As for that, I think that's basically all I'm going to say for the arena events. It starts in a few days, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this talk.